question is, what's love have to do with it? And it has everything to do with it when it comes from God, because it all starts with God. It all comes from God. The Bible declares, for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in him shall not perish but have everlasting life. And we are grateful for that on tonight. But tonight, if you are looking and you see, it looks a little different. And that's because we are going to find out what love had to do with it concerning our two precious leaders in the form of Timothy Wayne Landry and Trenell Landry. And we want to thank God for our apostle and our prophetess, because today is their wedding anniversary of 36 years. Can we praise God for our leaders? And I don't know about you, but that is a very impressive number. Very impressive number. 36 years may not seem like a long time, but it most certainly is. So tonight we're going to do something a little different. For those who are here in the sanctuary, we do have some refreshments in the back. You can help yourself. But we're just going to hear from our leaders and find out what helped them to get to this point in life of not only 36 years of marriage, but 36 years of being together, 36 years of children, family, life, ministry. So we're going to ask a series of questions on tonight, and we're going to just pick their brains a little bit. Is that all right? So we're going to hear from our leaders, and we're going to get right into it. The segment on tonight is from young love to lasting legacy. And we're going to open with, just getting to know these two wonderful people. We have two individuals sitting in front of us who have a journey that speaks to endurance, faith, growth, and legacy. Married in their 20s, raising children early, navigating ministry, life pressures, and still standing strong into their 50s. This wisdom we don't want to rush past. So before we dive deep into it, can y'all just give us a little brief synopsis of who you two were when y'all first met?
Okay, well, praise the Lord. Good evening. Well, I was a teenager with a mind made up to go to the military so that I could have a career, so that I could have a better life than where I'd come from. Not that life was terrible, but it wasn't where I wanted to be. So I thought I was very, very focused and intentional about just the things that I wanted to do. So we met as seniors not long before graduating high school. And I wasn't interested in anything but graduating and going to the Air Force when we met.
When we met, I was at an unusual place in life. Normally when you're a teenager, you're a senior in high school, and you're about to graduate. So I had all these plans for my lives, and all of that was disrupted. So as she had a plan to go to the Air Force and everything, I was trying to find my plan, how to survive past. And the honest way to say it, with all of my ambitions and dreams ripped away from me. So I was trying to figure out life past great disappointment. And that sounds crazy, but that's exactly where I was mentally.
And so with that, what did love look like to you back then, and how has that definition changed over time?
I didn't know what love looked like. I'd never been in love. I was a teenager. I've never been in love, not even puppy love. And so just living life and trying to be successful. And my driving goal was to be a successful man. I needed to be a man. I needed to find my place in society where I would be like a man. And so I wasn't looking for love, but if it had to be put in that, for me, it was supplying the need and helping who I picked survive.
So for me, there wasn't a really good, tangible example of love as a teenager. I love to me looked like family, because that's the only love I saw. I didn't see a marital love. I saw a family love, love of siblings, love of cousins, and things like that. So I think that's why I have the mentality that I do in regards to family, because it equates.
You know, a lot of people fall in love with the idea of marriage before they understand the reality of it. So just take us real quick. What were some expectations you had that didn't match reality?
I don't know that I had expectations. I had goals. I didn't come into the marriage with expectations. I came in with, I looked at it as an assignment that I wanted to do well at. And I got that from being newly introduced to a life in Christ. Again, I didn't, we saw couples that were together and were surviving and paying bills as kids growing up. So that's why I say I didn't have a tangible example of what a marital love looked like. So when we met, I've always loved church, but when we met, that's when I started going to church, got serious about God because I was told to, and then started being taught certain things in regards to the Bible and what your responsibilities or your role is as a helpmeet or a wife or a spouse. And so I was taught that, and then I wanted to implement it and do well at it, and it exceeded. So I didn't have expectations. I had intentions.
My example was my grandparents, my uncles and aunts, that they got married and they stayed married, and you're with this person no matter what. And my grandparents, they were born in the Depression time, and then they didn't have anything. So together, I seen them stick together, accomplish, and do things. And if I've seen the survival part of relationship. I've seen the commitment part of relationship. I've seen the sharing part of relationship. And I didn't really understand good love until I just looked at my mom and dad. And my dad, he would romanticize my mother. He would do things out of the norm, and he would make her smile, and so that was my example, to bring security, safety, happiness, longevity, and put smiles on her face. That's what I've seen. Those were the goals for me.
So it's safe to say that y'all wasn't just learning each other at that time. Y'all were growing up at the same time.
Absolutely. I had to pamper her and burp her. See,
Well,
but
well, I'm glad y'all brought up pampering and nurturing, because that takes me to my next segment, which is growing together while raising children. Yes. So you stepped into parenthood early while still discovering yourselves. What was that transition like emotionally and practically?
For me, and I guess it's because, and I never knew, I don't think I ever realized this about myself, maybe until this moment, that when I'm presented a circumstance or a situation, I'm very, very intentional of meeting whatever expectations the person had when they gave it to me. So I think I guess you could say I have an incessant need to accomplish. So when I found out that I was going to be a mother, I didn't matter to me anymore. And I've said this to people down through the years. When I became a wife and a mother, that was primary for me. What I wanted, what I needed, that went out the window, because this is what I'm supposed to be doing, and this is where my focus needs to be. So I don't think I thought about myself long enough to ever feel like or realize I was missing out on anything for me personally, because I just stayed focused on what life had given me.
I desired a son since I was 7 years old. And I knew that it was possible to have a child without being married. And as I was saying about watching my uncle, so my mother's brothers, most of them already was married when I started, understanding things. And my mother have younger sisters, so I seen those uncles come and court and provide. And when I was going to be a father, it's like all that from 7, the desire from 7 up until now, until the time that I found that I was going to be a dad. It just, man, now I gotta do this. I gotta provide. I am going to take pleasure in doing this, and I'm going to show them that I love them by giving them the best life I can, no matter what I have to sacrifice to do it. They're going to have what they need, and any area that I've liked in my life as a child, I'm going to make sure my kids and my wife don't suffer that.
Would y'all say that having kids strengthened y'all's bond, or did it expose some cracks?
Actually, it's the thing that held us together. Having my kids was the super glue. That was, because you only use super glue once something is broken. So, of course, there was not a crack, there was some breakage. But the children and their happiness was more than mine. It was more important. And I knew that I had to do some things, because the cracks or the damage was mostly my fault. So I have to make sure that my wife would be overwhelmed and joyed to want to stay with me. And the kids provided me the drive to win her over. So So it gave me the motivation I needed to achieve the goal to provide a family life for them outside of my own selfish needs or desires.
I think it definitely exposed cracks, because for me, I couldn't it didn't register why things weren't working out when we're doing everything we're supposed to do according to the textbook to be a mother and a father, a husband and a wife. So then why aren't you happy? Why aren't you coming home? Why aren't we talking? Why is this happening? Why I'm doing everything. I'm taking care of your kids. I'm feeding them. I'm helping with so I think that's when the realization that we're kids and we don't know nothing. I think that's when the realization of that manifested. So it exposed, I think, for sure.
Yeah, it exposed that I didn't know how to be a husband,
Right.
to me.
Yeah.
Because as you listen to what I'm saying, I'm always saying provide, security, health. So that's what I did. And I wanted to be a father. So my desire for children gave me what I needed to be a father, but it still didn't give me what I needed to be a husband. And so I didn't become a husband until later on.
So is it safe to say there was a time within the marriage where you felt more like co-parents than husband and wife?
Not co-parents, because she was sold out, she was bought in, she was determined, she was focused. She didn't know, and I didn't know. You go back to when we met, I said I was trying to figure out, and I said all my dreams were snatched, therefore I was damaged. And that's not anything that our culture dealt with. We didn't deal with the unfulfilled need of a young person. That's not necessary in our culture. So she got the short end of the stick because she had someone who had great aspirations, but they were broken. So therefore, she came into the marriage whole while I was broken. And she bared the weight. But the scripture, and see, sometimes you don't even need to know the scripture, but because it's God's word, he's going to back it up. And the covenant called for him to back it up, that the sanctified wife, even though she says, I told her about going to church, she learned relationship and covenant. So the sanctified wife sanctified the unsanctified husband. See, I was a God-minded husband, but I wasn't a sanctified husband. Therefore, there was some weakness in me, and a journey that I was gonna have to go through, and then also take. Now, if I would have got that healing at 18, 19, now I got to take 2 kids and a wife through this.
Well, I want to stay right there for a quick second because you kind of segued it into the next segment, which talks about faith, ministry, and calling. Because clearly, obviously, there was a calling on y'all's life. And then you, with taking everything that you have to refresh your memory on as far as going back and looking at how it all started, ministry adds another layer because now your personal life is tied to purpose and people. So how did ministry enter your lives, and did you always feel aligned in your calling?
So all of those things that you want to find in a person about being committed and making sure things happen and being dedicated. I was that to God. And I was that to the ministry. So ministry wasn't new when we got together. I was doing ministry because I believed in the ministry I was in. And so I was sold out to that ministry and making sure that the call that my pastor had would come to fruition. And sold her on the idea that we need to help this be be a success. And so I was sold out to ministry before I was. So I accepted a call in my place in ministry as being a help before I was called to lead in ministry. So it was always a part. And the willingness to sacrifice and the willingness to do what I needed to do was always there. And that's the thing that have confused me as being a leader, because I think everybody comes in like that. And that's the furthest thing from the truth.
I definitely believe that we're an anomaly. Not that we're the only, but we're an anomaly because, but see, it's the intentionality of God, because every union, I just believe every covenant union, there is a portion that was confirmed in your life before you came into covenant with that person. And if that confirmation is not there, that's not your person. And the reason I say that is because as a little girl, I was obsessed with church. Y'all heard the story. From a little girl, I cried if I couldn't go to church. So that was already there way before I met him. So it was, he said he sold me on the idea of, let's support this thing, let's support this ministry so they can be successful. You didn't have to sell me on that. I was already in love with this. And because I take assignments seriously, I took my assignment to be the wife that he needed so seriously that whatever he loved, I loved. So it made it a lot easier to get in line with, for lack of a better term, to get in line with wholeheartedly doing kingdom.
So
and as she did that, it made it easy for me to give and to make sure I provide for her, because she supported what I supported. And throughout my life, it's never been about me. It's always been about helping somebody else achieve. And I heard people used to sing this song about being sold out. I was sold out to the point to where if I wasn't connected to church in the way that I've been connected to church my whole existence, once I got saved, I probably would be a multimillionaire by now. And I wouldn't have suffered a lot of the financial heartaches. I gave so much, and I'm not asking anybody to do this, but we gave so much until we gave into bankruptcy.
Okay, I want you to stop right there, because I got a segment that's going to dive.
Oh, okay, all right.
So I don't want you to.
So, but you was talking about marriage, right? And you was talking about ministry. So, I never planned on getting married in my whole entire life until I came to Jesus. Jesus is the only reason I ever planned on getting married, and to solidify it, and you probably heard the testimony that I had a dream and that I dreamed about her. So I didn't see her face, but I knew God gave me her name. It was so unusual to me, and I've never heard it before. I just remembered it started with a T. But in my dream, I was standing on the corner of Laola and Manor Road looking at KAZI. In life, you stand on that corner, look at where KZI used to be, you move the building, that's her mama's house.
That's powerful. That is powerful. So I got two quick questions before we move on. So if you can answer them as quick as you can. Yeah, rapid fire on this one. Were there moments where ministry pulled more from you than your marriage and your family could afford?
Oh yeah, that was the segue to that. Absolutely. And because of what I experienced, I don't want anyone to experience this. I don't want anyone to give themselves into bankruptcy. I don't want anyone to give themselves to where they don't have. But at the time, you know, God blessed to where I made enough to take care of my family, well take care of them. But anytime there was a need at the ministry, and I'm not talking about when I was a pastor, we gave or we made it up.
My answer is yes, it took more, but I didn't mind.
Next question. How did you protect your relationship while serving others?
We did. Plain and simple. We did protect our relationship. We hung it on. Hey, forgive me. Can you forgive me for this? And if as she forgave me, then she didn't have to ask me for forgiveness, because you're going to reap what you sowed. So if it was something I didn't like or thought she messed up, I didn't sweat her about it, because she forgave me for my indiscretions.
Well, that takes me to trials, afflictions, and private battles. Every long marriage has chapters people don't see. So what were some of the hardest seasons you faced individually, and how did those struggles show up in your marriage?
Well, as I talked about when we first met, and all of everything that I dreamed about was, these are my words because it's my story, was ripped away from me. And the thing about it is, God would allow you and ask you to give up things, but he'll replace it with something else. But when people ask you to give up things based upon their convictions, they have nothing to replace it with. Now there's a gap and a hole. And this is why some ministries and church kids have these negative experiences in church, because where they were couldn't replace what they gave up. And that dealing with that, I didn't know. It caused me, and I've learned this later as we talked, and thank God that one thing, eventually we always get back to talking. And it's really patience on her part, because she's always willing to talk and I'm not, because I come from a nonverbal side of my family's not verbal like that.
Oh, Jesus, amen.
We'll talk about everything in the world except the problem. Yeah.
Amen. No, I was just saying amen.
And
so the hardest season of my life was obviously the infidelity, which led to other things. But what was harder than the realization that there was what it revealed that was broken in me that I didn't know was broken. And it's like I got a diagnosis of something I'd always had, but this particular situation or doctor is the one that found the disease, and it was the disease of rejection. Because at this point now, I have given up everything about me to be something for somebody else, for my children, for my husband, for the ministry, for my family, because even though I'm the youngest, even way back then, I was the one being called on a lot of times for a lot of things. And so it was always everybody else, I don't matter. Everybody else, I don't matter. And now I've given all that up, and I don't matter to nobody. So everybody just keeps rejecting me. And so now I realize I have a root of rejection. And this is what's caused it to manifest. Ooh, wait, but I can't tell everybody about this. So then it's almost like it becomes a dirty little secret because, y'all some Jesus people and y'all ain't supposed to be struggling in nothing, and especially not no sin. And so going through that season of my life with nobody to talk to but the one that hurt me. So now my hurter has to become my healer.
So with that, before we move to the next part, which kind of opened the door to, was there ever a time where you didn't know if y'all would make it?
What?
Was there ever a time that you didn't think that y'all would make it?
Early on.
So
Early on, go ahead.
I definitely believe that there were times I didn't think we would make it, hence the suicide attempts. Because I felt like if I didn't exit the situation and I don't know why I didn't feel like I was, well, I do know now, why I didn't feel like I was strong enough to just pack my children up and walk away. That the only thing that came into my mind was I don't even need to be here. And not realizing at that time that was that root of rejection that was fueling that. But I always felt that if I didn't walk away or if I didn't exit the situation, he never would have, because it's easy for you. I've made life easy for you, and you're taking me for granted. And this works for you. So he always says that wasn't the case. He's never taken me for granted. But, that's debatable. I think it'll be debatable till the day we, fly away. But I don't feel like he ever would have permanently left. I feel like he left conveniently at times because that thing in him that was still broken hadn't been healed.
And while we wasn't going to make it, mostly would have been it would have been on me because of unfulfillment. And the worst thing you could do to a dreamer is take their dreams and then force them not to dream anymore. That's you have broke them beyond repair. Not only God can heal that. And so I didn't think we wasn't going to make it because of unfulfillment. My desire. There's a yearning. And this is why I tell people I'm a great pastor. Now, some people think that I'm strong and straightforward. Well, this is the truth. People are soft and weak. No, I'm not playing. People are soft and weak because they think life and people owe them something. Nobody owe you nothing. So that's always been my take. And when you're dealing with unfulfillment and broken dreams, you're talking about an unbelievable battle. And when you're fighting that battle, you don't want to fight nobody else. And you don't want to fight a wife. And her wanting and needing what I'm supposed to be given to her, that made me think we were not going to make it because you want from me what I can't give you, because right now I'm doing everything to survive. Hey, your bills are paid. You go shopping. So that was my way of saying I love you. I'm gonna give you all this stuff, but I need my space because I need to not give it an excuse to bad behavior, but what I needed to heal. Yeah. And the heal was going to be very unique because my dreams were so big. I thought about things nobody even thought of. In my 20s, one time I was preaching, and some people who know me, been knowing me that long, I was talking about owning my own submarine while people was trying to buy bass boats.
So I want to stop you right there because it's leading into the next part. I do want to take a quick pause. For those who came in, we do have refreshments in the back if you want to help yourselves. If y'all want to get somebody to get y'all something. I do want to also say this, not speaking for anybody but myself. I do appreciate the openness and the transparency, because I think there's a point in life where we as individuals, we get to where we're confused and we want answers. And sometimes some of the answers that we can get and the clarity that we can get is through somebody else's experiences.
Yeah.
And growing up, seeing this so-called perfect life that certain people live, thinking it was perfect, and on realistically, it wasn't. It was in turmoil.
Yeah.
It was terrible. I think if people had the opportunity to be open about that, there would have been a lot more restoration in people's lives. You know, but I believe that God is ushering in the opportunity for things to be restored in people's lives. So just want to take that moment to thank y'all for the transparency and the openness to not only encourage younger individuals who will aspire to get married and go after Christ, but even those who have already experienced some of these things. So going to the next part, which is external influences, which are friends, choices, and pressure. Not everything that affects a marriage comes from within. How did friendships and outside influences impact your relationship? Were there voices that caused tension or confusion? And how did you learn to set boundaries?
So my answer is going to be really quick and easy, because I didn't have external influences in regards to like friends and stuff like that, because I've never been the type to need friends. And my running joke used to always be, and I have two friends and a niece. I just didn't associate myself with a lot of people. You know, everybody, they were my brothers and sisters in Christ, but I didn't let everybody in and I didn't let everybody close. And the two that I let in and I let close were strength to me and had my back. And you know, when I started going through some of the storms and, you know, the cracks were showing, if I was mad, they were mad. If I was happy, they were happy. But never offered any opinions or advice, just prayer and strength. So I was fortunate in that. And I think that people should really get back to that, because number one, you got to kind of keep everybody out of your business. Like you said, set the boundaries. And then if you have people in it, please know their heart and their intentions, and don't be so comfortable with them that you miss when they switch up on you.
I'm not easily influenced. It's very hard to influence me. And I remember stepping up and just accepting the responsibility of my own actions. And I remember that used to surprise people. Even when I was younger, a young man, people were surprised that I would say, no, I just did that because I chose to. And it's like, well, somebody had to influence you to do that. Most times, people ain't influence you to do wrong. Wrong is in you. And we think that we're better than we are. No, we are sinners saved by grace. And there's seeds of darkness in all of us. Yeah. And sometimes we don't know how deep we were willing to go into the darkness. There's some people, they'll walk to the edge of the dark and that's it. There's some people go deep in the room. There's some people that will go and Satan will say, man, wow, I never been that deep. And so I'm not easily influenced. So this is why I know I'm an affluence. I will influence people. So I try to always give them the best and let them see the best of me, because I want people to accept you did that because you wanted to. And once you accept that, you can be helped. You can be helped.
So how, looking back over the years and getting to now, what does a healthy circle look like, not just for an individual, but specifically for a married couple?
You need to have friends that be able to tell you the truth, and you don't be, oh, they hating on me. Man, look, people got their own lives. to live, and nobody's trying to hate on you. Somebody's giving you some advice that you need to hear, and they're giving you the best that they can. So this saying that my wife says, your herder will be your healer. We got that from a couples gathering when we was under the ministry that we was under. And our pastor said that. And I remember that to this day. And he says sometimes the herder gonna have to be your healer. That's because there's no other doctor in town. And so they're gonna have to heal you. Your friends need to be able to tell you the truth, and your feelings need to get out the way. And this is, our grandparents was good because they could handle the truth. We can't handle the truth because we want people to tell us how good we're doing even when we're doing bad. Okay, no, you suck at that. And see, then they came out. Now society have come up to pamper people's soft side. Now everybody get a participation trophy. In my era, you don't get nothing for participate. Only winners get it. And our country have suffered from that. Now, we want to win without doing nothing. No, you don't, that's not how it comes. And so when we bump into people who can't handle the truth, you bumping into people who are delusional. And a healthy circle of friends are honest with each other, supportive. They will support you when you're down in your struggles. That they know not to kick you then. They know not to kick you then. So honesty, love, care, camaraderie, all of that.
But also
is
one of the bigger things too, and you learn this in time. But also make sure, even though you're getting all that from your friend circle, make sure you know just as much about them as they know about you. Mm-hmm. If you're the couple that's always doing all the revealing, readjust that.
Yeah.
I'm not telling you to kick them out of your life, but that's not the psychological sofa you should be sitting on.
Right, because if her and I are always talking about what we're doing wrong and we're around two other couples and they're never doing wrong, they're just not telling. And if they're not telling, then that's not your circle.
Well, let's go here.
Because the enemy will come and pervert something, and before you know it, you're going to be hit with a bombshell. You're like, wow. Why didn't y'all share that? We were sharing what was you sharing. Just because you're comfortable and you're looking for healing and looking for friendship, that don't mean your friends really want to be your friends. That's why I say I'm not easily influenced, and I always needed one friend.
So we talked about friends and got deep in that. Let's go to the family aspect of it. You know, family dynamics and boundaries that we must set with family. Family can be a blessing, but also complicated. How did extending family affect your marriage? Were boundaries something you had to learn over time with family? And how did you stay unified when dealing with family disagreements?
So for me, I'll go first. Extended family did not negatively affect my marriage because for most of my marriage, throughout the duration of my marriage, we had always kind of been on separate pages. And now, you know, I've always been a very private person. And again, it's just how God strategically brings you into covenant with somebody that's like-minded. It's hard for you to have a deep impact on something that I'm striving to perfect when you've never had any success in it yourself. So I don't allow influences of people that have not perfected anything to try to perfect what I'm working on. And you got to be careful because sometimes people, because of their age or what have you, they think that, oh, well, you know, I can do that better than you. Well, then go ahead, you know. So, and not feeling obligated to family. I never felt the things that happened in our relationship and our marriage, we revealed them when we wanted to. I never felt obligated or pressured to be anything or what have you, because, you know, oh, well, that's family over everything. Yeah, family over everything, but family don't need to know everything. And so you got to learn how to differentiate that, and also be okay with them not being okay with you being okay. And so it's, you know, I would say my spiritual family, and then maybe even the in-law side of the family, not necessarily impacted our marriage, but had more of a seat into or appear in the window of it, because there was more interaction, I think, there. But and again, it was just about the different place we were in our lives at that time. So,
my family, as I said, we keep our stuff to ourselves, and I'm the oldest, so I'm looking to help if I could in my family, and we never had any issues. My mother and my father respected my marriage, and they never interjected anything.
Except once.
One time,
Except once.
It was the same. It was the same time I was tripping. That's the best way to put it. I was tripping. I was behaving badly. So I was behaving badly because of the. I was behaving badly because of the frustration. So once you sacrifice enough, and you give everything, and you buy into an ideology, and then it changes on you to benefit somebody else. Oh, that does something to you mentally, and it's going to come out. So I was behaving badly, trying to deal with all of that happened, and I was at my mom and dad's house, and I was asking my dad to give me a ride somewhere, and my dad, he said, "Hey, let me tell you something. I'm not going to be giving you rides. What you need to do is get yourself together and go home to your family." And so my brother, I have a brother, he's 2 years younger than me. Now, he was behaving terribly. He was single. He was just behaving terribly. He should have been whipped. My daddy told me that I couldn't come to the house and stay there, but my brother, who's doing everything under the sun, could. But you know what? My daddy was being a good dad.
I had the best father-in-love ever. He was amazing.
He told me what I needed to hear, whether I liked it or not. Now, I didn't have to do it, but I definitely wasn't going to do it at his house. And my father's always been that type of man. And at the same period, the same time, my mama, who never says nothing, came and gave me a piece of advice. And she says, X, Y, and Z, point blank. And I've never talked back to my mother. I'm about to be 57. I never talked back to my mother. I said, "Mama, I'm grown." And my mama said, "I'll slap you in your face."
I have the best mother-in-law in the world. But you know what?
But
Real
they
talk,
told me what I needed. They wasn't coddling me and trying to make it easy for me. It didn't need to be easy for me, because what I'm doing, I don't need no support in doing wrong. And in the midst of that, my mother-in-law told my wife, because she told me what she said. She said, "Boo, he's young. He's young. Just let him get some running out." So in that moment, my parents, who trained me, needed to be hard on me, and the one who've embraced me as a son supported me, so we wouldn't waste what we invested that far. Without those words to her, we might not be here.
No, I 1,000% agree with that. All of them, minded their business like they did, and I mean in the most respectful way, because like he said, when I finally did dial my mom into what I was dealing with in my marriage and what was going on, that literally was all she had to say. Just let him get the running out.
But older people, they knew that because they knew about investing in people and relationships. This generation don't know nothing about that. This is, some people are holding on, but the reality is sometimes one person is in a relationship, not two people.
That's real. That's right.
And there was a time where she was in the relationship. She was the whole marriage. I wasn't. And there's never been a time where I was in it by myself, but there's been a time she's been in it by herself.
Touching on, the point of view that you gave from dealing with the in-laws, is it safe to say, because I've came up with this saying myself with the experiences I've had, that not just with parents and family, but with friends and people in general, that people often mistake privilege with right.
Ooh, yeah.
Like, you may have the privilege to tell me something, but you don't have the right to demand that I do it. Right. And just because you have the right to tell me something, you don't have the privilege to expect me to do it how you want me to do it. Give me the space and the opportunity to, one, process, but then decide if I want to do it, because it is a choice, right? So.
And as we were saying, our parents didn't interrupt in our marriage, and neither did our siblings. Our parents didn't interrupt our marriage. Our siblings didn't interrupt our marriage. Our friends encouraged us to make it better. My brother, my friend, my brother God gave me, James Rivers. We was thick as thieves. We was road dog, everything. Look, we was so close. I slept on his sister Flo. We family. My people knew him in Louisiana. So we at this time I wasn't going to church. This is the same time my mama wanted to slap me, and my daddy was kicking me out of his house. I wasn't going to church. I called him dog. That's big dog. I said, we was riding, and he said, "Say, dog, I need to tell you something." I said, "Well, go ahead with it, baby." No. He said, "Say, man, you need to change your ways, man. Man, if you don't change your ways, we can't hang out no more." And I said, "Say, dog, I got you, baby." I said, "You can give me a little time, but thank you, man." Yeah, so that's why I'm all about the truth. See, if anybody come here and say, "I try to do anything other than give you the truth," they're lying. They're going to hell.
And, touching on that just like for 30 seconds with the friend thing, I find it prudent that in a marriage you have friends that enhance your marriage and that you both don't have issues with. Because, he was his big dog and he was big daddy to me. Like, we loved each other equally. You can't have friends that your spouse don't care for. They make him uncomfortable. Because now it's contention in your marriage. We've never had friends like that. He had a friend in school that I was very vocal about. But the two friends that I say I had back in the day or whatever, we equally love each other. Yeah, and that's important.
Well, moving
So
on to
but in that because we haven't had that those friends that was meddling and busybody friends, it does not negate that we can't help you when you have those type friends.
Right, absolutely.
Because
absolutely.
we had such good friends.
Yes, absolutely.
So you got what you got success, so you can tell when somebody's
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, that ain't good
I
for
can
you.
point out. I can point out. You know, that's a failure right there. That's gonna fail. And some people embrace relationships that fail because some people are they're codependent in their weakness.
Okay, with you saying that, codependent, especially for those who are called to be leaders, segue into leadership and roles in the home. Leadership in marriage can be misunderstood sometimes. Um, what does leadership look like between two of you, and how do you handle major decisions? What happens when you disagree strongly?
Wanna go?
Yeah.
So for me, it's a it's a mindset. So it's going to look different for everybody. But my mindset comes from biblical principles. My mindset and mental approach to the structure of our marriage and our home in regards to the leadership roles and final decision making does not come from a talk show. It does not come from a therapist's couch. It does not come from somebody else's opinion. It's biblically based. That being said, leadership for me and for our dynamic looks like it does in the Bible. He that finds a wife finds a good thing and obtains favor of the Lord. So I'm supposed to be good. I'm supposed to put him in a position to obtain favor. We love Proverbs 31. What does she do? What did she do? She cleans, she cooks, she takes the money, she grows it. She does not meddle in other people's matters. She makes sure he look good when he go hang out with the elders. That's what the Bible talks about. So leadership is allowing him to look good to everybody because he is good, and I handle everything that makes him look good. And when you do that, you get duality, you get mutual respect, you get due benevolence. Then your opinion is not forced and shoved down their throat, it is sought out. Babe, what do you think about us doing such and such? Babe, what do you think if I should take this job? What do you think we should do? As opposed to forcefully trying to interject yourself because, you know, we're a marriage. Marriage is 50-50. It is not. It's 100-100. You got to be all in. And when you're all in your position, then you're honored and brought into other positions to give insight. And if it's a strong opinion or in agreement that I believe is pivotal and could make or break, we got to press pause on that, and we got to seek the Lord, and we got to seek wise counsel. But at the end of the day, the buck stops with him. Because if it goes wrong, he's who God gonna whoop. And I'm cool with that. My attitude with him has always been just as long as I don't end up in hell. I'm gonna follow you wherever, just as long as I don't end up in hell.
And so I'm going to unpack what she said just a little bit, because the biblical principle of the relationship of husband and wife have been misunderstood for generations, and that 50-50, and the thing about it, and it's not a partnership, I lead.
That's right.
And see, society have given women these voices and made women think this and this, but then they want a godly man. Well, if you're trying to be a society woman and want a godly man, that's an oxymoron.
Lord Jesus.
You got to choose one or the other. And so when I make a decision, now, like I said, we have communication. When I make a decision, that's it, right? But at the same time, I must consider, and I thank God that I have a very, she's brilliant. My wife is just not smart. She's brilliant. And if you knew like things I knew about her, like one time I was looking to do something, and I was going to sue this company, right? And so I was looking for lawyers. And so she was talking to some lawyers for me. And one of the lawyers said, "Wow, you did a great job." And then another one said, "Oh man, I like what you're talking about." He said, "Are you a lawyer?" And she says, "No." He says, "You should be." She's brilliant. And because I know that, I lean to her in some things, you know, in a lot of things. I put things in her hand and I let it go. Like she said, she makes me look good. But the proper role is just like she says. I have the last say so because God is coming for me. And I remember I was teaching this when I first started pastoring, and women do not like hearing this at all. They don't like hearing this. But this is the truth. God never talked to Eve.
That's right.
He didn't have to. Why didn't he have to? Because there's order. If your house is in order,
Come on, man.
he don't have to talk to. Why would God come talk to my kids and then talk to my wife? If my house is in order, he come talk to me and I talk to them. And if the house is really in order, he talks to me, I talks to her, and she talks to them. And they don't talk back. And because we have gotten away from that dynamic, it's not that God don't want. God don't, what he doesn't deal in what? Confusion. And when the wife think that her voice is equals to her husband, that's the problem. The church the same way. You know, we say that we're leaders. I'm the leader. We're not leaders. I'm the leader. I depend on her because she's wise. And she makes great decisions. So, and I'm saying this so women could hear and also men could hear. That doesn't cause me to stick my chest out. That causes me to put my ear out. Now I got to really hear. Because if she let this pressure get on me, I'm the one in trouble. And when she submits to what I say, she don't get in trouble even if I was going to lead her to hell. The Bible tells you that. Ananias and Sapphira, they agreed to lie. They got judged separately. He went to Ananias first. When he lied, bam, he died. Then they went to Sapphira, giving her the chance. Your husband was leading you down the wrong road. Did you choose the right one? No, she chose the wrong one, so she died too. See, if what the decision Ananias would have made, they both would have died.
That's right.
But because we're free will, and she puts pressure on me, so no man needs to walk around with his chest out. You need to suck that chest back in and be hearing and be praying and be asking and be knowing, because the only person who slips is you. It's a minefield out there. Who get blowed up? Everybody? No, the one that's in front.
So briefly walk me down how did your approach to leadership evolve over time from your early years of being married in your 20s to now?
Leadership in the home or leadership?
Period.
Well, so my grandmother was a smart lady. So you know, I wasn't going to marry an idiot. And my mom was a very smart lady. And I seen my grandfather lean to my grandmother. I seen my dad lean to my mama. I seen them work things out. So I went in it knowing that she has a right and a voice, and that if I listen to her, it's going to be beneficial. So I've never ever in my whole entire life ever thought like some guys be like, I'm the man, the blah blah. That ain't never been me. I've never been like that.
There was never a reason for that to be you.
Yeah.
But the way it evolved is over time, I proved through submission that I got you and you can trust me. And it made it easier, and it made it easier, and then you find that rhythm, and then you speak a language without speaking.
That's good. All right, to a really good part. Financial and life pressures. Finances can either strengthen or strain a relationship. Oftentimes, people are not aware of just how big finances play a part. Instead of looking at finances as a tool that we can use to build, they look at it as something that they're either owed or have to obtain. What were some financial challenges you faced early on Did money ever create tension between you?
The lack of it. No. So I don't. I know it sounds. It may sound like it's a little too good to be true, but we really were on the same page in like 90% of the things that was presented to us. And he, you know, he really struck gold and won the lottery when he got me. 'Cause, no,
A $5 scratch off.
gave you $50 million because, again, this is who I said I'm going to be with. I'm committed to this. I'm going to give it everything in me. So I'm here to make life easier for you. So that being said, even out of the gate, I've never been a one that demanded, I need to live like this, I need to live like this, I need to have this, I need to have this. I told him from the beginning, I've never asked you for things. I just want you. You know, I want you to just be mine and not a whole bunch of people's. And I'll be under a bridge with you. So for the financial part, you know, we stayed within means. And the strains started coming because we had like passions, like-minded hearts, that loving people, doing for people, wanting to help people. We are so on one accord with that, and that is dangerous. You know the saying, let cooler heads prevail? Let closed hearts prevail. Because if both of your hearts are wide open, you will self-destruct. So somebody's heart has to be a little bit more closed than yours. And they need to lead. Because our financial issues, problems, struggles, strains, whatever, came from overly compassionate hearts and wanting to just do for people, and neither one of us stopping the other.
Yeah, I'm so from the beginning. Well, I had aspirations of achieving, having huge success, and being financially free from jump. And when it was very disheartening for me. Well, when I worked and I was in high school, I literally had stacks of hundreds and checks that wasn't even cashed. So I one thing I could do is save money. And so when my first full-time job, and all I made was not even $1,000 a month, that was disheartening to me. And so I worked very hard and asked God, give me an opportunity so I can feed my family and give them a decent life. And God heard me and opened up the doors. And did I have to work for it? Yeah. But you know what? I didn't mind that. And God gave me a simple math equation. If I made enough in a week to pay my rent, I'm doing good. Then I could pay everything else. Then if I made enough as I regrew, I needed enough to make enough in a week to pay the mortgage. And then the car notes fit on the second week. And the third week covered everything else. And then the fourth week would be totally free. And tithes came from the mortgage check. Paid tithes for the whole month and the mortgage. Then all the other bills, and that's it. And then we'd have at the end, you know, so literally, because my dad told me this, that the Japanese save 40% of their income. And so we should have been saving 25% of the income. We was giving most of that away.
So what would you say shifted that helps you build stability?
Realizing we were not people's Jesus, having to file bankruptcy, having a car repossessed, having a need and nobody whose needs we met them. Mentally maturing and emotionally maturing and allowing people to have to trust God just like we did. It took a long time to learn it, though.
It took a very long time
Very
because even after we should have learned it the first time and the second time and the third time and the fourth time, we still didn't learn it because what that giver in us would override sense, and so you can't allow that to happen because the same people you give to and give to and give to will be the same people who leave and talking about you always want something from them. And you never ask them for a dime. And so things like that there's not much that disappoint me because I deal with people. But lying on me against the thing that I'm passionate about, that's disappointing. And that will cause me to leave you alone.
So let me segue into this then. Accountability, mistakes, and growth. Everybody knows no journey is perfect. Every journey has its challenges. Were there moments where personal decisions hurt the marriage? How did you rebuild trust in those moments?
Personal how? Like something that I just wanted to do to go benefit me by like spending money. So like one time I wanted a Lincoln Navigator. I remember I seen that joke and I wanted that, and I told my wife, and she wasn't working at the time. I said, "Hey, man, I want this Navigator, and it's gonna cost about $700 a month." And she told me, she says, "I'm not about to go get no job so you can go get no $700 car payment." All she did was motivate me. I was working 12 hours a day on my regular job. I went and got a part-time job. You say, if you're working 12 hours, man, 12, 13 hours, how did you do it? I got up in the middle of the night and started working at FedEx from 3 in the morning to 6 in the morning. Drove from there, went to work, and worked them 12 hours. I was determined to get what I wanted. So I've never put a burden on what I want personally from taking from the family. That was something that I was taught. Men provide for their family. They don't take away from them.
It's in regards to the part you asked about personal decisions negatively affecting the marriage, and then how do you rebuild trust? So, given a lot of the things that we've dealt with and gone through, I had to shift my focus from trying to see if I could trust him again to just trust God. When I trust God, I don't have to trust him, because I trust that God will do what he needs to do with him. And I say this to women a lot of times that have ever had to deal with situations in their marriages or, infidelities, indiscretions, or what have you. But how can I trust him? How can I said, if we're keeping it honest, you probably never trusted him. And so how can you learn to retrust and you never trusted? You're gonna have to take your eyes off of him and trust God. And when that thing clicked in my head, I checking phones and stuff, girl, I like to go to sleep. Because if I gotta do all that and now y'all got air tags and trackers, just go your separate ways. You tracking a man more than you tracking and trying to trace the hand of God in your life. And so I because what God proved to me was that he couldn't, if we had a rule in the house that you can only use 5 tissue squares, he couldn't use 6 without God revealing it. God would tell on this joker every single time. Every single time. So I trusted God.
So with that, leading into the next part, longevity and love redefined. Listening to y'all's story, you can tell that y'all have made it through decades together, and that's powerful. But what kept you committed when it would have been easier to walk away?
I can't take credit for it. The covenant, God. I was committed, and I didn't know I was committed. I just knew that nothing in me could ever leave. And it's not just because we're pastors. I am in love with my husband. On the other side of everything we've gone through, the bankruptcies, the losing things, the having to rebuild, the marriage, all of that, I love him. I love him infinitely. And that's a God thing. And, you know, starting out life young, it can be good and it can be bad. I think for us, it worked out for us because of our call, because of our covenant, but also because we were able to work through our shortcomings at the same time. So now not the one doesn't have to wait on the other to catch up. So we've always been on the same page. We may not have been on the same line. So, because you know how frustrating it is if you reading a book together and you ready to turn the page, and you know, and when John said, and then you read like, and when John said, and you like, you know, it just no. So God graced us in that He allowed us to grow up at the same time, and now He's a little slower than me in some things, but those are the things that I can go off and leave Him on that because He got His own car, psychologically, but. It worked to our benefit. So now equally we want to go have fun. Equally we want to travel. Equally, you know, one is not like, I just want to sit here and just rest. I'm done traveling. And you like, I just finished potty training and getting your kids through school. I'm ready to go. And then but I've been out there working. You know, both of us been grinding in our own field. And now both of us want to go to Greece. Both of us want to go to, you know what I mean? So you got to at least try to be on the same page, even if you're not on the same line. That's the only way you're going to have longevity. Because you do see people 30, 40, 50 years married, and they get divorced. Mm-hmm. Because somewhere in there, somebody was enjoying something a little bit more than the other one. Somebody was more committed than you were. And now that they're done with their commitment, you done ran through, and you're telling her you just want to sit down. And you're telling him, I just want to chill. And she like, oh, I'm going to get my coat and my keys. Now it's time for me to go live. And that's why divorces are happening after you've been married for so long.
The example that I had in front of me, so I didn't see my my uncles, I didn't see my grandparents, I didn't see them quit. And then so I couldn't quit neither. And having a honest conversation and realizing you're not going to find someone that's just perfect to you every day. And you're not going to be perfect to them every day. So you learn to put up with each other's shortcomings, if you could call them that. Some things, they're not even shortcomings. They're just little tiny things that irritate you. And so you make the adjustment to, well, when they do that, I'm going to go somewhere else so they won't irritate me, because they're going to irritate me on it. And then you make the conscious decision that what you're building is worth it, and that to go ahead and stick in there is going to be worth it, because you have to visualize to have a vision for your life of the future. And you have to envision who you want to be with. And I've done it on several occasions, and every time, it's her.
Likewise.
I love her, and I don't want to have great success and be sharing it with somebody else. I want to share it with her.
Yeah, sometimes it's easier to keep going than to start over. Sometimes it's just easier to keep going.
It's cheaper to keep them.
It's definitely safer, because I'm not gonna eat the beans out the can, with you for 30 years, and then you own a bean field. Now I got to go to the grocery store and get some beans because we ain't together no more. You lies you tell. You and Sally Sue.
Well, that takes me to my next point. We got 2 more points, and then we'll wrap it up. Legacy and reflection. When people look at your life, they're not just seeing a marriage, they're seeing a legacy. They can listen to your story, and it could help motivate them to leave their own footprint in the sand. So what are you most proud of, and what do you hope for your children that they've learned from your marriage?
I'm most proud of the fact that I have children that love God for real. That I have children that are not doing this because, you know, we're making them, you know, or they live in my house and blah blah blah. That's my greatest success. Every ounce of disappointment, pain, frustration, whatever, um, to have children and then now grandchildren that quote scripture and love God and want to go to heaven, it was worth it. You know, my testimony will forever be when I had kids, my life was no longer my own. It was not about me. And so to be on this side of that and to see that paid off, I'd do it all over again. Now, y'all would probably have a stepdaddy because I would have been a widow because, you know, now I like guns a lot. And so I'm just saying, no, I'm joking. But
Can't kill Superman.
oh my God. But and then I'm also very proud of the fact that after all of that, and despite everything, this is my best friend. And I do not want to do life without him. Because the only way that happens is that I get to kill him. And sometimes, you know, he work himself out of those jams. But I don't want to do life without him. Despite everything, I told God, let us pull up our feet at the same time. And that's genuine and that's real.
I thank God that I have somebody in my life that I really love, and not just start loving her. I've loved her from the beginning. Now I might not have known how to love her, but I've always loved her. And you know, some days I don't like her. I think this afternoon I didn't like her. She was yelling at me about something that she did. and because of that, and because of her, legacy is easy. See, my legacy depended on my movements, because my parents did their job and my grandparents did their job. And I envision, you know, sometimes having a goal is the thing that, you know, it motivates me. I have a goal that I'm going to take my mama, me, my son, my grandson, and when he's old, he's going to be older, and him and his son or daughter, and we all going to eat. We're going to have 5 generations. And I would have loved it. You know, my dad would have been able to be there, but I know my mama ain't going nowhere for a long time. And Aiden will be soon enough. He will fall in love, and he'll have him start his family, and to have that legacy, to have that, to look down. One time we went in Atlanta visiting you, and we was at a restaurant, and I believe it was Noah. He's greedy like me. And so he was eating something, and his daddy said, "Boy, stop eating that, blah, blah, blah." I said, "Come on over here, man. I could whip your daddy." And so I'm saying this, and you know how sometimes you're just around, and so the table next to us, the people next to us, the lady, she was just hearing it. She was just laughing. She was just getting joy, because all she seen was a family, and she seen the legacy. She seen 3 generations. She seen 3 generations of men. When they say that don't exist in our race, because they lied. That exists in our race, 3, 4, 5, 6 generations. And we do have legacy, and we do have good examples, and our men are raised by men. I don't know what they be talking about. Quit reading magazines that we don't write.
If you could speak to your younger selves, what would you say, briefly?
I have only one regret, and that is the thing that I decided not to do. But and as I do, and I've thought about it, that's the only you know, there's many regrets, but that regret lingers. And with that, if I could have made a different decision, told my younger self, I still needed her to be my wife. Because I believe we would have had a better life, and she's deserving of that. Of everything I could give her, because I love her, and she would have just made things better. She would have made things better for me. She was made for me. This is why we survive. Get who God made for you, not who you want.
The only thing I think I would tell my younger self is it is not betrayal to seek wise counsel from more than one person.
Mm-hmm.
The Bible said in the multitude of counsel there is safety. Because we took one person's viewpoint, which,
Mm-hmm.
you know, God is a redeemer, but because of that, we've had to take the very, very long road to get to this place called success that is yet unfolding. It's yet unfolding. But I'm praying that God would keep us young and vital enough to enjoy some of it, because we put a lot of time in.
So now for the closing wisdom, this is what I like to call it, for those listening, especially young couples trying to figure it out. What advice would you give couples getting married in their 20s? What should they fight for early? And what's one thing they cannot afford to ignore?
You can't afford to ignore each other. Their feelings are real. What they're thinking, how they're feeling is crucial. It doesn't matter if you go achieve, but if they feel that they're not heard, or whatever feelings that they have, if they're not addressed, you're defeating them. I would tell them, live on a budget, work and stay within your means, and save some money. Because if a hard time never comes, well, then you are favorably blessed. But when they do come, money cancel hard times, because you're prepared, and you don't have to look towards anybody, because God have already given you a plan. And enjoy each other. Learn to do something that they like that you might not like. My wife takes me to eat seafood, and she don't even eat seafood. But then there's times I take her to Italian places, which I'm not crazy about Italian. And if you don't learn to have that ebb and flow and that give and take, you're not going to be successful. And in the midst of an argument, if it's not life-threatening, man, let it go. And then when you learn to argue professionally and
Heated fellowship. It's not. We don't argue. We have heated fellowship.
not that kind of argument. I'm talking about the argument when you're trying to annihilate one another. Oh, they're gonna come. When you're trying to annihilate one another, and you realize you've won the last 5, be smart and let the other person win it. Because nobody constantly want to play against a person they never beat. And then before, you never want to be around them. And then learn your rhythm. It don't matter what your mom and daddy did. It don't matter what your uncle and them did. Learn your rhythm. We survive because we learned our rhythm. That ain't Shirley. I'm not Donald. That's not Claire May. Sometimes she act like her. I'm sure not Charles.
Amos.
I act just like Amos. And she has some good attributes of, because I can't think of nothing bad about my grandmother, but she got some great attributes of Cornelius. But I can't be Amos, and I'm not looking at her to be Cornelius. I fell in love with Trenell, and I want to be with Trenell, and I want Trenell to be.
And my father's name was Willie Anderson.
Willie, Willie.
Very, 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 very wise. I just caught that. Very, very, very wise advice. Do not only church your marriage. Stop pleading the blood over everything only. Baby, plead the blood and get counseling.
Go to counseling. Get some help.
The
Get
devil
some
is
godly counseling.
the devil is a lie, everything. But sometimes the devil is not lying.
Sometimes the evidence is true.
The evidence is true. And we can be overly spiritual, trying to be saved, and thinking that because we're Bible believers, the problems that are staring us smack dab in the face are not real. Yes, they are. Godly marriages and covenants is what the enemy attacks.
Mm-hmm.
And so stop overly churching your union. Like, do some natural things. We like to snorkel. I'm trying to get the courage to scuba dive. But I got to be able to get back up to the top real fast in case I see a shark. Stop. And don't rebuke everything.
So
listen.
yes.
Don't, you know, and are you just in your flesh?
If now I'm gonna say your question. It would have been good to ask. If I could have given her a gift 35 years ago, what would I have given her? A counselor.
For sure. For sure.
Because she needed some help to carry that Tim.
And to carry my stuff, the root of rejection. Also, the last piece for the younger couples getting married, build it together. Stop comparing your marriage to other marriages and what they got.
Yeah.
Okay, but you don't know what they went through to get it. And you want to come out of your mama's house, and you want him to put you in a 5-bedroom, 3-bath house. And maybe he can, but should he? Because how you gonna feel when you cutting up and showing yourself, and he tell you this is my house. I brought you in here. You ain't. Just gonna build it together. And if he can only put you in an apartment, it's gonna make it mean that much more as you do it together. Stop comparing yourself to.
Ain't nothing wrong with an apartment. It's better than a tent.
Real quick, I do want to get y'all's quick piece of advice to those who have already traveled down this road and didn't have the success as long, or maybe they had it longer, but they didn't endure until the end, or maybe they didn't marry the person that was made for them, and they feel like they're in a place where I've learned a lot, I've achieved some things, but I'm not willing to give up on the love I know I deserve, the love I know I want. Yeah. What is your advice to that?
You know, the Bible said it's not good for man to be alone. And I know people used to think that the end all be all of it all was divorce, but that ain't the truth. You can go and find someone, and your second should be better than your first, because you should be honest with you about what you're looking for, what you want, what you need, and what you desire. And it could be your first time. It could be your first time getting married. But if you're getting married for the first time, like in your 40s or 50s, you don't need to date 12 years in your 40s and 50s, because you should know what you want already. And you should be able to, tell it, convey that to that other person, and they should be able to convey it to you. And y'all might find that y'all some good friends, and y'all might hook each other up with your husband and wives. But you be honest with it. Be honest with each other. See, in your 20s, you're trying to impress. I tell people, like on my job and stuff, I say, man, you want me to impress you? You should have called me when I was 22. Man, right now at 57, I ain't trying to impress nobody. And we get further about being honest with ourselves. And the thing about it is, some people can't be honest because they don't even like them.
Yes, so let me chime in, and then we're going to let it. If you are twice divorced, take a very long pause take a long pause, because especially, I'm assuming, we're talking about Christians and godly beings or what have you. We're saying our lives is governed by God. You and God don't sit down and tell me, well, let's try this one. No, okay. Well, hold on, let me see. We're going to try another. You got to fix you. You got to fix you. Now, if it didn't work, it didn't work the first time. Everybody doesn't find the God covenant the first time, especially when you're not taught how to find it, or if you are just in your own place mentally. Because God does honor marriage. He does honor marriage. And the ones that he chooses and that he ordains. Forgive yourself for making any mistakes and getting in your own head and your own flesh and your own way, saying, I'm gonna, and that's mine. But then learn from it. Seek wise counsel. Stop keeping y'all booze secrets. We don't know you dating until you done proposed. And what? And you want us to, if you have to keep them a secret, it's probably not, God didn't send that. There's a difference between keeping a secret and being private. And so, if you've been down that road and it didn't work out, it failed. We're not talking about widows. It failed. Fix you before you jump. Even if you weren't really the problem, you were part of it, because something in you chose that. Something in you chose something that would have failed. So fix that so that you're not even attracted to it the next time. Yeah. And then keep God in it the next time. Keep successful marriages in it the next time. Keep counseling in it the next time. Because just because you get married and you do premarital counseling doesn't mean you don't need marital counseling after you get married.
Mm-hmm. Sometimes you need that referee. That counselor. A counselor. You need that counselor. Excuse me, he just wore a black and white shirt. Had a whistle. And a flag.
And before we close, is there anything you two would like to say? Anything else you want to add?
No, but I thought these were some amazing questions. This was awesome. Thank you for doing this. Thank y'all for indulging us. We've been married for 36 years. We've done a lot of things. There's a lot more we gonna do, because I want to see every part of the world God created, as long as he'll allow me to. And so being in Bible study on tonight during my anniversary, big whoop-de-doo. What I love is whenever we have been on a fast, and Lord, we've been on some strong fast, or having preaching assignments or whatever, and it's our anniversaries, he always make it up to me. We landed, true story, we landed in Vegas one time, and the fast wasn't over yet. It wasn't going to be over till like certain time. And Vegas 2 hours behind, 3 hours behind. Well, you from Georgia, yeah. From Texas is 2, yeah. And it's like, okay, well, we going to listen. But boy, when that clock strike 3 in Vegas, it's all that popping. I don't mind. And I just want to hang out with. I was like, let's give them some snacks if they want to come to Bible study tonight, and we can still teach. We'll just teach something else. And that's all I said, and he did everything else. So, but thank y'all, and keep praying for us. It's a God thing, for real. But I do love you, and you are my best friend, and I thank God that I am doing life with you and with our children and our grandchildren and our parents. So, God is faithful.
And I thank God for you, and I truly love you. And I can't imagine myself doing life with anyone else. And if you had decided to go to heaven before me, I will live the rest of my life loving you.
Y'all make sure that's true. Y'all see how you can be married for 36 years and still not be on the same page? Because I told y'all that I told God we got to go together.
That's what you said.
He willing to stay behind. Y'all see, you see what I'm saying, Veronica? Make
that's
sure
what
he the
she
right one,
said.
girl. Don't let that
In
man.
other words, he said he's still looking to get that submarine. So if you go before I get that submarine, I still got some stuff to get.
Yeah, it's just,
Thank y'all.
you know, it would be nice if we get to go like that. I mean, you know, that'd be nice if we get to go at the same time, peacefully. Yeah, not in tragic now, you know, 'cause many people have died in car accident, you know, peacefully holding each other hand, yeah, it's, you know, nice and calm. But if it can't be like that, I'll see you when I get there.
Once again, we want to thank everyone for tuning in. And does anyone have any questions? Anyone online may have a question that you want to ask briefly that we can ask the lovely couple. Anyone in the sanctuary have a question?
And everything that we said, you know, a lot of things that we said was about our individual affair. Man, marriage is so multifaceted to where a book can be written on a facet, but it definitely can't be written on the whole relationship. So take that into consideration. And as I said, hey, make your marriage, not your mama's, your daddy's, or anybody else's, or what somebody said. Make it your marriage. What works for y'all, that's your business. And I know a lot of preachers want to tell people how to do things. Sometimes the preacher ain't happy at home. So you know, make it good for you, and enjoy your life. So just like I like traveling with her, she liked traveling with me. I like being with her. There was a time that wasn't true. She didn't want to be around me. She went to Disney World without me. Went to go see Mickey Mouse.
Yeah, but you drugged me around Disney when we went together looking for Minnie.
Can y'all do me one huge favor? One word. Tell me who you were at 20. One word. Describe yourself. One word at 20.
Energetic.
Okay. At 30.
Determined.
40.
Focused.
Now.
Committed.
And who do you expect to be in your 60s?
Assured.
Okay. Your 20s?
Giving,
30s?
sacrificial,
40s?
aware,
50s? Which is now?
fully engaged.
And who do you aspire to be? One word in 60s.
Fulfilled.
This conversation is proof that marriage isn't built in moments. It's built in decisions, seasons, and perseverance. Thank you both for sharing not just your story, but your wisdom. I do want to remind everyone, especially those online, that we will not be in this sanctuary this Sunday, but we have the privilege to be with our fellowship church, which is Breath of Life, our overseer, Sunday morning and Sunday evening. So we have the pleasure to serve God from get a double dose. So we do encourage you to for the online listeners to their YouTube channel. I believe they have a Facebook as well. So Breath of Life, they do have a Facebook and a YouTube. So please tune in. We'll definitely get you the information. But we do thank you all, and may God bless you, and good night.